Hello, and welcome to me ranking 26 of my completed Extreme Demons. I planned to do this when I reached 25 completed Extremes, but I ended up completing Prismatic Haze, and now we have 26, so deal with it. There'll be three main criteria I'm ranking these levels on, and that would be the gameplay, the music, and the deco. None of these were weighted differently, and they're just a score out of 10, so the max score a level can get is 30. And I allowed myself to give a level 0 in any category if it was required. So sit back and enjoy. These are all 26 of my Extreme Demons ranked. This level is frustrating at best and literally unplayable at worst. I really don't think there's much more you could say to convince me that Aftermath needed to exist at all, let alone that it's good in any capacity. Nothing in this level works in any way, and a couple of parts feel like complete dice rolls. I've heard a lot of people claim that this is their best in the trilogy, and I'm sorry, but I could not disagree more. Overall, Aftermath feels undercooked and burnt to a crisp at the same time. It's really the only level in the trilogy, or even the only level in this list, I wouldn't recommend. I beat this before the update that made it slightly more playable, so I'm only going to talk about this level pre-update. Azurite by Scylla is chock full of inconsistencies and bad transitions. Adding 2 choke points back to back in the 70s was definitely a choice, and the ship at 72 is the bigger problem of the two. As I said before, the level was updated to make that transition into the ship corridor a little more consistent, but right after the ship comes a 4 times speed wave that is the hardest part of the level by far. The balancing of this level is another sin that just can't be forgiven. This level is hard demon for the first 36% and gets so much harder after that. Last part I want to talk about is the jump at 51%. Just why? I actually really enjoyed learning this level and was really motivated to get it finished, but one day while I was grinding 24 to 100 runs, 2.2 released and broke the level. I also took a break to enjoy the update, and the Hell Factory was put on the back burner for a couple weeks. But eventually I fixed the level myself and started playing again. Not only did I get extremely unlucky with 45 deaths to 66%, but I also got extremely bored playing from zero. All of this combined made the Hell Factory one of the most painful experiences of my GD career. Wookie's part is still one of the worst parts of any level I've ever played. Not a whole lot to say about this level other than it's extremely easy for an Extreme Demon, and I beat it within a day pretty much. Tantrum is just really forgettable and not that enjoyable to play from zero. The ending is also way harder than the rest of the level, so add bad balancing onto the pile of things that I don't like about it. At least I didn't die to the ending, so there's that. Same goes for It Back, as I beat it so quickly that I don't really have a full opinion on a lot of the aspects of the level. This was actually the first Extreme on the list that I would actually recommend to someone. I don't actually think this would be a bad first Extreme, but it is pretty awkward and jank in some parts, so you wouldn't really build a lot of skill. Overall, I think it's fine. Not a whole lot to say. The only thing that saves crowd control from being in the bottom 3 on this list is the fact that the first 47% is actually pretty fun. However, the level takes an absolute nosedive after that, and the rest is basically unplayable. There's some really weird buffers in the second half that don't seem to work half the time, and the ending ship being the biggest choke point at 90% is another sin. Expect to die here at least 10 times, and if you only die there a couple times, or not at all, you should buy a lottery ticket. I would consider myself a wave carried player, so Redemption was pretty fun and easy Extreme to just pick up and beat in a couple hours. Once again, a pretty forgettable experience for me, but not a bad level by any means. It gets such a low gameplay score because the first wave is the only part I would consider fun. The other 2 waves don't feel fully complete to me, and the pre-drop is kind of a slog to get through every attempt. Not terrible, but definitely not amazing. I feel like my rating of Unearthed is completely tainted by my experience. I very easily could have finished this level out in less than 700 attempts, but I ended up taking way longer due to bugs, bad transitions, and my own stupidity. All of this coupled with a death to the last click because I buffered the last black orb. I didn't even know you could die like that, but I found it the hard way from zero. I really wanted to enjoy this level, but I just can't bring myself to rate it any higher. I definitely recommend it though if you like XLs. I went into this level expecting to hate it, but I wanted to beat it because it's old and it would be my first 9 Circles Extreme. I ended up not hating Down Base surprisingly enough, and can excuse a lot of its bullshit on the fact that it's just really old. Don't know why I make an exception here, but it's my list so I can do what I want. The pre-drop being short is an amazing feature, along with the ending being nerve-wracking but also pretty free. I would actually recommend this, but only if you want to beat it for legacy reasons. Definitely don't do this as a hardest or anything. It's overall good, but nothing can excuse the deco being this bad. Cataclysm is a level I have fond memories of beating. With it being one of my first extremes, I hold it in a special place, partly because it's one of those levels I never thought I could beat. With that being said, it's just okay. The deco still holds up, and the gameplay has its charm. Though I do think it is still a great first extreme demon, I find the first wave not beginner friendly, and the second half is also pretty free. Overall, Cataclysm still holds up, and I think it's just alright. Another nothing burger of a level for me, Hypersonic was a comeback level for me actually, and it is important in my career. However, this level just does not spark a lot of emotion in me at all. Kinda how I feel about Cataclysm, but I like the song a lot more. What separates the two in rankings is that I actually really like some of the gameplay towards the end of the level. The midpoints is where the gameplay does really take a dip though, and the duels I found to be really buggy and awkward to pull off. All in all, it's another fine level, but nothing amazing. This was one of the levels that really made me realize that I had skill in this game, which is weird because I beat it after Blade of Justice. Bloodbath is a level that I had rose-tinted glasses for, same with Cataclysm. I think looking back it's just alright. It can be really fun at times, but Michigan's part is just so much harder than the rest of the level, and feels like such a wall when playing from zero. All the flying parts are really fun however, and the second half is a lot more fun than the first. I'll always recommend this level to anyone who asks. I wanted to like this level so much more than I actually do, but 23 to 41 is seriously so inconsistent and buggy that I can't put it any higher on the list. The parts toward the end are pretty fun, except for a few bad transitions here and there. Reanimate is not a bad level though, and I do really like the deco in some parts, but I think my problems mostly come down to the gameplay specifically. I beat this level as a hardest just to ease myself back into beating harder levels, and I think Artifice was a pretty decent choice. Overall, a few bugs though, and I died to one at 90% twice. Still, I think a lot of the middle parts are really fun, and it's fast-paced enough to where it doesn't get boring to play from zero. The duel at 32, however, never got consistent. I was basically dice rolling every attempt. I had a very mid experience, but I can look past parts of it because I do think the gameplay is special in a lot of ways. Also known as one of my worst experiences ever, Accu by Neishu is a great level. I had a horrible time beating it, but looking back, the gameplay is still really fun, consistent, and fits the theme of the song perfectly. I can understand why someone wouldn't like this level, with the pre-drop and ending being way harder than the middle sections. I used to be against doing this as a first extreme, and would sooner recommend something like Cataclysm, but I've come around to Accu a lot, and I actually think it's a great first extreme, mostly because of how fun it is. This was my first extreme demon back after dropping Artificial Ascent, and I don't think I could have picked a better level to get me back into the game. I've always been a fan of cognition-style gameplay and structuring, so a level that captures that charm while being accessible is always cool to see. I can see why people wouldn't be a fan of Carcano, but to me this level stays high-octane the whole time and is enjoyable the whole time. The pre-drop can get boring, but I didn't have a problem with it personally. The waves are also way harder than everything else, so just be cautious of that if you're interested in beating this. Everyone and their mother talks about how good this level is, and I'd have to agree. The gameplay is fun, challenging, and while the level has a massive click sync element to it, it doesn't punish you for playing with the music off. What Prismatic Haze does great is offers a fun, fast-paced, and short experience that pretty much anyone can enjoy. I'm typically not a huge fan of fast-paced gameplay, but Prismatic Haze does it right. I did end up having a really bad experience with this level, but I can look back on the fun that I had learning and getting consistent pretty fondly. I'll be the first to admit that Reverie is definitely carried by the song and deco, and looking back, I'm actually surprised I made it this far up the list. The gameplay is fun, however, and gets very consistent. I would say the biggest issue I have with the level is its choke points, the main one being the final wave being way harder than anything else in the level. I'm sure playing Ocular Miracle as a whole sheds a new light on this level, but as a standalone, I find myself feeling pretty neutral on the gameplay at least. And I can't run this level in full detail, so you're gonna have to enjoy a ULDM version of it. Very famously, the most unlucky I've ever gotten with any level ever. I seriously can't bear to ever touch this level again after what I went through. That being said, I actually love Retention. I just really wish I had a better experience with this level. But for the sake of this ranking, I'm willing to put my experiences aside and say everyone should beat this level. It is absolutely great and gets insanely consistent very quickly. The only part I have an issue with, and the entire reason that this level isn't top 5, is the blue orb at 62%. Seriously. Why? My current hardest demon as of recording this, and one of my dream demons since I was like 8 years old. Artificial Ascent holds a very special place in my heart, and I'm so happy I was able to beat it. I think this level holds up incredibly well for its age, and the gameplay has some very interesting and unique ideas for its time. The reason why the gameplay score is so low is because the balancing of this level is horrible. Michigan is so much harder than the rest of the level, and going from zero feels like you're playing past Michigan Simulator the entire time. The second half being so much easier is honestly its downfall, as dying to the end hurts so much more knowing that you have to play Codex's parts some more. Overall fun to do runs on, but playing from zero hurts me physically. The level is so high up, mostly because of its significance in my life. Speaking of significance, this was my first ever extreme demon that I completed. I don't know how falling up was ever considered to be an insane demon. The flying in this level is so challenging, but extremely fun, and the waves are right there with it. The ending duel is incredibly interesting to me and really satisfying to pull off, and I understand criticisms with the level as a whole, but I love this level so much, and I think that everyone should try it. If I had to pinpoint a single moment in my GD career that defined what kind of a player I am, I would say the moment that I touched Maybe Possibly thing. This experience is really what cemented my love for memory levels and opened my eyes to how good memory can be if it was done right. The gameplay, theming, and song are all incredibly choiced, and all work cohesively to deliver one of the most fun and interesting experiences I've ever had playing this game. If you're a memory hater, just give this level a try and really give it a chance to change your mind. Strangely enough, this level kind of left my mind after I beat it, but when it came time to rank these levels, I had nothing but amazing memories with Doradura. It honestly shocked me at first how this made it to the top 5, but now writing this script, I wouldn't have it any other way. I also decided to beat this when it was way out of my skill range, just because I liked it. It was kind of the first level I beat where I really felt like I fought an uphill battle, and it holds a really special place for me for that reason. All the colors work amazing together, and the song is an absolute treat to listen to. This was also the first level that I had to download a Nong for, so there's that. Highly recommend Doradura. Go play it. A level I decided to pick up randomly while looking for something to play. Who knew that it would end up being one of the most fun levels in the entire game for me? I've always seen this level and thought the design was cool, but was never really able to fully appreciate it until I played it for myself. Not a single dull moment during learning, grinding, or playing from zero. I would consider myself a wave carried player, so maybe that's why I had so much fun, but I don't know, man. If I were to pick a single level off this list to recommend to someone, it would be Wavebreaker. Really the level that I never thought I could beat ever, but I decided to do a big jump and really try for the level of my dreams. Blade of Justice was such a surreal experience, and I'm so happy to have called it my hardest for around 2 years. Everything in this level has so much aura, from the song to the pacing to the balancing. Seriously hard to pinpoint one specific flaw with this level. The only thing that's stopping it from being number 1 is the fact that there's a level I think has even more aura and even more fun gameplay. Well, here we are. Humanity has finally peaked, and it's in the form of a Xylinox level. Wow, this level is flawless, if you're alright with memory. 666 is so incredibly well balanced that I was getting nervous at 30% because I theoretically could have fluked the whole thing. The learning process is slow, but the payoff is immense. Everything in this level works together to create a seriously one-of-a-kind experience. The song builds such a grimy atmosphere, coupled with the gory imagery, to really immerse yourself in this sadistic atmosphere. Even the gameplay ramps up and down with intensity, never really giving you a chance to breathe. It really feels like the level is trying to swallow you whole while you're desperately gasping for air as you escape through the last ship corridor, almost as if you're being chased by something. This level is truly the best GD Extreme Demon I've ever played, and I would absolutely recommend to anyone who doesn't mind learning it. And that was all of my Extreme Demons ranked. Be sure to let me know if you agree, disagree, if I'm stupid, and also let me know if you've played any of these levels and if your opinions are different than mine. GD has kind of been on the back burner for me for the past couple months, so I decided to just get this video out because I had it in mind for a while. Don't really know when I'm going to get back to playing extremes. I'm kind of experiencing a lot of burnout at the moment. I'm sure the spark will be reignited soon, but until then, sit with this video, and I'll be back at some point, I'm sure.